Good morning. Now, how many of you in your head you hear, oh, oh? Any of you know that? Come on. What's love got to do? Got to do with it? Come on. I was thinking we need some Tina Turner up in here.
Oh, my.
It's not quite, though. I'm an 80s chick. We got any 80s people in the house? Yeah, come on, little parachute pants people. Let's do it. We're getting older, but we still good.
I'm trying to see how she's going to lead into the message with this morning.
Hey, you put the title to the message. I didn't say.
That's right. How many of you have your app open, got your notes open? I want to read Song of Solomon, chapter 8. By the way, if you have ever read the Song of Solomon, you probably read that and think, man, this is kind of racy to be in the Bible. And I've heard a lot of theologians, pastors, ministers over the years try to explain away the Song of Solomon with it's an allegory, it's a spiritual, deep spiritual thing. And look, while I believe that we can get a lot of that out of the book of the Song of Solomon, I also believe that if you read it and in any way practical and just use common sense, you'll see that this is truly the description of what love looks like between two lovers that are becoming one and entering into a relationship. And it's amazing, and it's pretty detailed, fairly graphic. I'm going to encourage you to maybe, if you've never read Song of Solomon after today's message, hopefully you might want to a little more and dig a little deeper into some of what we're going to talk about this morning. We want to talk about intimacy in our marriage relationship. And if you're single, don't check out on me right here and say, well, that doesn't apply to me, because you can learn a lot of things that I think would be very key and important for you as you pray about God's mate for your life. And it can also, especially you ladies, maybe give you some reinforcement and some wisdom on how to spot a dog when you see one.
Come on.
and know the difference between a man that's after what many men are after, or a man that truly loves you and is after you, not just what he can experience with you. The words, I love you, you think about it, we hear those words all the time. We use those words so loosely. Now I hear teenagers telling one another, they fall in love. They're in the 8th grade, 9th grade. It's their first boyfriend or girlfriend ever, and they're just, I love you. Oh, my God, I love you more than life. And I'm thinking, you have no idea what love is. I love you. Well, how many know I love tacos?
Yeah.
I love football. We love a lot of things, but, there are 4 Greek words for love, and that's what we want to kind of start out looking at today. But let me read you this passage just to get us going in Song of Solomon, chapter 8, beginning in verse 6. I'm reading out of I believe this is the Message translation this morning, simply because it's a little more easy to understand. He says, hang my locket around your neck and wear my ring on your finger. Love is invincible, facing danger and death. Passion laughs at the terrors of hell. The fire of love stops at nothing. Talking about passion. It sweeps everything before it. Floodwaters can't drown love. Torrents of rain can't put it out. Love can't be bought. Love can't be sold. Love cannot be found in the marketplace. Song of Solomon, he talks a lot, quite honestly, if you read the book, a lot of the book talks about intimacy, it talks about passion, it talks about sex, but it's all centered around a healthy love in their relationship. And we're going to pick apart just a few pieces of that today and try to help you understand that. But I want to start out by just helping you real quick, and you can go through this in your notes. There are 4 Greek words for the word love, and I'm going to give these to you. Most of you will know at least 1 or 2 of these. We've preached on them several times, but I want to give you the 4 words, primary Greek words that there are for the word love. The first one is the word agape. You can hit that check on your notes in your app, and it'll fill that in for you. The word agape, it simply means the God kind of love. It's a pure love. It's an unconditional love. The word literally means a covenant love. It loves when all other types of love quit. It cares when there's no reason to care any longer. This is the kind of love that will keep you going in a very trying, troubled relationship. to me, the deepest level of love. It's the purest form of love. And again, it's the God kind of love. The second word is the word phileo. And that word simply means to have tender affection for one another, or a friendship type of love. In other words, you can phileo love someone, and it never have anything to do with passion or intimacy or sex. It can be simply a friendship. Matter of fact, most real true friendships, when you say this person is my best friend, really what you're saying is the kind of love we have between us is phileo love. How many of you remember when Peter and Jesus went to Peter after he had denied him, and they had that conversation on the shore, on the beach, and Jesus said, Peter, do you love me? And he said, you know I love you. And he asked him again, do you love me though? Well, you know I love you. Yeah, but do you really love me? And Peter got frustrated the third time and said, you know I love you, but what a lot of us don't know about that conversation is Jesus is using the word agape, and Peter's answering with the word phileo. In other words, Jesus is saying to Peter, do you love me with everything, wholehearted, unconditional? And Peter answers him and says, you know I phileo love you. See, unless you understood the language of the day, you would miss that whole, really the point of that conversation. What Jesus is trying to help Peter see in himself is that I have a love for God, but it's a limited love. It's a love that's based more like a friendship than a God kind of love. And so that's the second one, phileo. And that's important, by the way.
It is important. I mean, your marriage needs that. You guys need to be friends. We started out, actually, before we were ever dating, as really good friends. And a lot of relationships start that way, and I think it's because that's a really good building ground for marriage.
Absolutely. The third word, if you're going through this with us, is the word, the way you pronounce it, it looks almost like storage. That's not it. It's the word storge, S-T-R-G-E. And this is a physical show of affection, but it results from a pure motive. In other words, it's starting to get physical, but it's not sexual. It's the kind of affection that I many times will show my granddaughters when they jump up in my lap and I hug them and I kiss them all over their face and head. It's a completely pure motive kind of affection. It could be a hug, it could be a kiss, it could be just a rubbing of a hand, a shoulder, any kind of expression of affection that is non-sexual. Angel likes to call it NST. Also, this is very important in a marriage relationship.
Yeah, guys have a hard time with NST. It usually starts with NST and quickly turns to ST. So, guys, if she's asking you to rub her back, she means just rub her back. Just
See,
rub
the
her
way
back.
we think is, well, how about we start with NST and then we drop the N and we go to ST? Come on, y'all know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Angel many times say, rub my back, and I'll start rubbing her back, and then at some point she'll say, that's not my back. And,
Yeah.
I'm like, doggone, But that is very important in a relationship. And what you'll find is, if you don't have storge love in a relationship, the sex will be very unfulfilling. Which, by the way, is the fourth word. Go ahead and write that down. That's the word eros. It's the word that we actually get the word erotic from. That word means a sexual desire or passion. The definition really of eros is simply the feelings of arousal between two people that are attracted to each other. In other words, this is the fulfillment of the physical sexual desire that a husband and wife show towards each other. It's what Jesus meant when he said the two will become one flesh. Obviously, he was talking about spiritually and emotionally and vision and all that becoming one. But really, come on, to be honest with you, practically what he was talking about is these two people are going to carry their friendship, their relationship to a whole different level than anyone else. They're going to go all the way to becoming literally one physically in their flesh. Now, here's the problem that most of us, or many of us, have encountered. If you look at these four words, I started on purpose with the word agape, then went to phileo, then went to storge, then went to eros. what many people in today's culture do is we go just the opposite. We start with eros, thinking we'll go from eros to storge, and then to phileo, and then ultimately to agape. And the reality is, and I think what Song of Solomon teaches us, is that you can't reverse the order of this and expect it to do what God intended it to do. Come on, we live in a day and age where there's all these hookup sites on social media and online. And it all starts with, hey, let's just see if we like the way each other looks, and if we want to get together and you know, have a hookup. And then, hey, if the hookup goes really well, I mean, as a matter of fact, you know, a lot of these different sites and things now that you can go to and use, people will start out saying that, not looking for anything serious. NSA, no strings attached. We just want to meet, hook up, and then if something develops, then I'm open to that. Well, I'm here to tell you that's the worst way you can start a relationship.
It's like trying to make a cake and just going straight to frosting. You know, you can have frosting, and frosting's good, but after a little bit, if it's only frosting, there's no substance to that cake. So you've got to add those layers in there, and it gets, you know, too much of that frosting, you'll get sick of it quick. And I know some of you think, no, I wouldn't, but yes, you will. So
I could give you a list, very long list, of why I think when we're in the dating, courting stage, we should refrain from sexual intimacy. I could give you all kind of lists. I could start out with what the Bible says, what's right and wrong, and look, I'm not making light of that. That's obviously there. But I could get a whole lot more practical with you, especially, again, you ladies, if you're single. Why don't you just make him wait a while before any of that happens and see if he sticks around? Because how many of you know if he's interested in you and he really likes you, he'll hang around and wait on that to come. But if you give that up too quick, you don't really know if that's what he was after to start with, or if he really was interested in you. I just think you ought to say, you know what, you just wait a while. I'll tell you what, buy me dinner for a while. Pay for some dates for a while before you get to kiss these lips and maybe even hold this hand. Look, why don't you just wait a little bit and let's see if we can be friends first. Come on, why don't you take me to the concert and you buy both tickets, mine and yours? And
come on.
So look,
praise God.
Yeah. When all four types of love operate in a marriage, that's when the marriage is complete. So it's also, I'm not by any means saying that, look, we ought to, that you don't need to have eros in a marriage. We're going to, hopefully by the end of the day, you'll be convinced that if anybody needs to have eros love, it needs to be a married couple, a man and a woman who are in a covenant relationship together.
That's right.
But I'm also here to tell you that you need to be sure that that's not all that you have in your marriage relationship. And if you have all four types of love we just described, eros will be more fulfilling, more satisfying, and more powerful than you could ever imagine. A picture of a complete marriage is a husband and wife that will lay down their life for each other. That's the agape love. No matter how many times the other offends them or causes them to have ill feelings, they both have tender affection towards one another, that phileo love we talked about. They enjoy each other's company. They become best friends. They enjoy each other so much that they hug and kiss and hold hands and do nice things, that storge love, without even thinking that I'm trying to, get from here to home plate. They just enjoy, second base or first base, or just that storge love. And then because their hearts are filled with agape phileo and storge love, then this passionate desire arises within both of them to enjoy each other sexually. That's, I believe, the God-centered marriage that can weather any storm. So let's get into a little bit about the eros-type love when it comes to a marriage relationship. The other day, we were sitting around our den, and I was kind of doing the preliminary work on this message, and I said, Angel, we're going to talk in a couple weeks about intimacy and sex and eros love and Song of Solomon. I said, what's something that you as a woman would say that I definitely don't need to leave out of this message? And before I finished, I mean, she didn't think about, well, let me think about that for a little while. Before I finished, she said she was standing across the island in the kitchen, and she said, sex starts before the bedroom. So if you got your notes open, hit that check, and it'll fill in that word bedroom for you.
Ladies, y'all are awfully quiet. Come on, help a girl out up in here. Don't be scared. Go ahead, no. Go ahead. I'm just...
So I'm thinking, okay, that sounds like a good point one for the message. Sex starts before the bedroom. So we began to talk about it. And obviously, you know, we've talked about this before. We've done this message a lot of times. We kind of began to repeat some of the things we said. But the bottom line is this. We have to realize that as men and women, we are absolutely 110% different. We're wired different. We're motivated different. We're stimulated differently. And I think a lot of times what begins to happen when it comes to our intimate part of our marriage is we get tunnel vision, or as men, we try to do for our wife what we would like our wife to do for us, and it just doesn't have the same effect. And women can do the same thing. In other words, you know, we don't realize that what moves me doesn't move her. We were doing this message several years ago. We had the most awesome couple back then that were working in our kids ministry, and French and Laura. How many of y'all remember them? They were awesome. They may be watching, may get mad at me for telling this story. Love y'all, but look, I did this message, and we were talking about the difference in men and women, and I don't remember. I got kind of carried away that day and said a couple crazy things, and I remember saying, you know, guys, if you come home and she's dressed in, you know, that negligee, to use, I guess, a nice word as I can find, he's going to be super excited. But guys, don't try to do the same. You know, when she comes home, don't be standing up in the middle of the bed in a Speedo thinking she's just going to get turned on. So after the service, this couple came up to me. They couldn't quit laughing. They were trying to tell me something, but they couldn't quit laughing. And I'm like, what? And so she tells me, she said, one day I came home and he wanted to just really impress me, and he had gone and made this little outfit, you know, this little, I guess you would consider man lingerie. I don't know, but he wanted to be Adam, and he went and made these leaves and all, and he was dressed in this when I walked in, and when I walked in, he said something along the lines of, hello, Eve, your Adam awaits. And she said, I fell out laughing like on the floor, doubled over. Of course, hurt his feelings, you know. And I mean, I literally lost it when they told me that story. I thought, you know, that sounds like something a man would do. If you read through the Song of Solomon, you will find quickly that the man, all he talks about is what really stimulates or arouses him or attracts him or gets his attention. It's all physical. Is anyone surprised? He talks about everything from her hair to her teeth to her neck to her feet to her legs to her belly button to her breast. I mean, her shoes, her jewelry. I mean, it's all visual. When you read the girlfriend's encounter, if you read in your Bible, it'll say which one's speaking. So, you know, if you're slow like me sometimes, you need to know which one is this talking. It'll say boyfriend, girlfriend, or, you know, lover, beloved, or whatever. Anyway, if you read what she talks about being really turned on by, it's what he says to her. It's not what she sees, but more what he says. And not just what he says, but how he treats her. Mm-hmm. Let me give you just a portion of it, Song of Solomon 4, and I'll let Angel make a couple comments on this because I think she's well able to do this, but better than me probably. He says this in Song of Solomon 4, how beautiful you are, my darling. He's talking to her. That's a good place to start. Come on, ladies.
Yeah, we like to hear that.
He says, hey, you're beautiful. Oh, how beautiful. How many of you know he just took it to a whole nother level? We can walk in and tell our wife, hey, you know, you're beautiful. Or, hey, you're pretty, you know, or I like that. You look good, you know, but he says, hey, my darling, you're beautiful. Oh, how beautiful. How many know she stopped in her tracks right there? Like, say
Hello.
what? Yeah. He says, look, your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats. Now, don't try this in 2020.
Okay, I'm just going to explain to you guys. Don't say her hair looks like a flock of goats. Back in the day, if you had a flock of goats, that meant you had a lot of money. So what he was saying is, baby, you look like $1 million. Don't don't say your head looks like goats. Don't try that.
Look, I got to say that because some of you guys, I mean, I know, you know how we are. You'll read it and say, now that's in the Bible, boy, that's going to work. You know, you better make it 2020 language. But he said, your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth, I love this, are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Come on, I love
Girls,
that.
wash your teeth, but boys, wash your teeth too.
2020, he says, hey, I can tell you just brushed your teeth.
Yeah.
You also just went to see the dentist. Come on, we got some dental hygienists in the house.
Yeah.
That's a good place for y'all to say amen. But look, he says, he says each tooth has its twin, and not one of them is alone. I love it. How many of this is a man? I'm not going to tell that story, don't even. So,
I'm not saying
okay,
anything.
good.
I would.
He says, your lips are like scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind the veil are like halves of pomegranate. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with courses of stone. I mean, it's all about what he sees, but he's also talking to her about things that he knows when I communicate these things to her, it's going to make her feel amazing.
And guys, be specific. I mean, as women, we really like to hear specific. It's easy to say, baby, you're beautiful. But if you really want to amp it up, let's get real. Sit back, take a minute, and look and pay attention and be honest with your wife about what you see and what you like instead of just a generic, hey, baby.
I think probably every married man in here will identify with what I'm about to tell you, but how many times have you walked in and your wife would say, hey, notice anything different?
Mm-hmm.
You know why they do that? Because we usually don't notice the things that they have gone many times to great length to try to do for us, detailed things. And I can't stand that question because I'm always scared I'm going to say the wrong thing. Like, you know, do you notice anything different? Your hair looks amazing. I didn't do nothing to my hair. I have on fake lashes, Joel. Come on, wake up.
Yeah.
And yeah, that looks amazing too. But the bottom line is they want us paying attention to detail.
But also, ladies, give him some detail to pay attention to.
Come on.
It's important.
Preach.
It's important. You know, it says your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. A little bit of Revlon never hurt nobody. You know, look good for your man. I try, and it cracks me up because that's one of the things he really likes. And so I'm a makeup every day girl. And even if maybe he's been gone all day, I'm telling you, if I don't have my makeup on at 4:30, I'm going to go do that for him. Why? Because it's important. It's important for him. And, you know, some of us, seriously, you know, we don't wear your pajamas to Walmart. I mean, come on. Fix your hair. A little foundation ain't gonna hurt nobody. You can do the natural beauty if you're a natural beauty. I don't happen to have that natural beauty ability. So it means a lot to your husband for you to take care of yourself. He may never, ever tell you that. But if you get comfortable in your relationship, I think he will. It's also good to ask, what do you like? What do you not like? Don't get too tricky with it, girls. Don't set him up for failure. But, you know, be careful with that. But the other thing I want you to understand, ladies, is if you're not going to do it and you send them out to the workplace every day, there are women out there dressed to the nines, on the prowl, looking to make the hunt, if you know what I'm saying. So if you want to keep your man happy at home, be his princess and dress up for him.
I would also say on this point before we move on that this is, I think, a lot more important to a woman than a man, this point of sex starts before the bedroom, because, again, we're men. I said last week, men basically want respect and sex, and somebody throwing a hot meal every now and then would be nice. But we're simple. I mean, you know, I mean, honestly, she she could tell me, hey, I mean, I could be in the middle of watching whatever, and she could be and say, hey, go to the bedroom. I'm in the bedroom. Hey, I'm not offended. You didn't hurt my feelings. I'm not going to look on and be like, what did you just say? Just like that, go to the bedroom? Not even a hug first? Wow, really? I'm going to be like, hey, I'm in here. But how many of you know, guys, don't try that with her. Like, hey, baby, get to the bedroom. You're going to get hit upside the head with something, whatever's close by. It's important to them. We say this usually when we do this message, but women are like crock pots, and men are like microwaves. You know what I'm saying, man? You can warm us up
Someone
fast.
recently said, a real good friend of mine that has small children said, I'm not no crock pot, I'm a smoker right now, you know, like a wood smoker. It's going to take a long time, so you better start putting some wood in and watching the fire, but we'll eventually get there. So also, you know, guys, know your lady and work to get her attention.
So sex starts before the bedroom, but let me give you a couple more things before we close out this series, because, and especially as it pertains to passion, I think there are a couple passion killers. We were talking about, you know, we try to keep this thing fresh every year and kind of, you know, I mean, you can only do so much with the topics because, I mean, it's all pretty plain and pretty simple, and pretty to the point. But we try to at least try to bring a fresh perspective to it. And this year, as we were talking about how, you know, what, in other words, if a married couple who loves each other and they're friends and, you know, all that's going, why wouldn't the passion, the eros love, be on fire? How could there be a problem? And we obviously know that there, in many cases, there is. Many marriages, by the way, this is where things break down and fall apart. Look, I'm just being honest with you. There's couples who actually do a fairly decent job at communication. They're not in deep financial problems, but they have no passion in their relationship, and things wind up going, you know, really, really wrong and bad. And look, you never justify, you know, affairs and adultery and things that happen, but let's also be real about life. The stuff happens. It happens a lot. And let's just be blunt, it happens to Christians just like people in the world. It happens to pastors, preachers, politicians, no matter how powerful you are, no matter, it happens. And the reason I think a lot of times it happens, I'm not saying that it's not a person's fault for making bad choices, but reality is sometimes it happens because the passion in the relationship where there should be passion died a long time ago. And not just men, it happens to women as well. Now, it happens on different levels. You know, a man can mess up simply because, you know, a woman just turned on the art of seduction and it happened. Women, it doesn't usually happen that way, but it happens because emotionally there becomes a connection and it gets deeper, and all of a sudden he cares more about me than my husband does. He cares about my problems, my struggles. He's more helpful to me than my husband is, and those are dangerous things that can happen. And I think that passion begins to die for many reasons, but I want to give you two this morning. If you're, again, in your app, you can go ahead and do the first one. I think a passion killer in a marriage is selfishness in lovemaking. When it becomes about just being sure that I get mine, come on, just to be blunt. In other words, as long as I'm satisfied, and again, I think this is a mistake men make more than women, because a lot of men have this mindset. She never gets satisfied sexually. She's a woman. She has issues. She has problems. It takes too long. It's too complicated. She doesn't expect to be satisfied. But I'm a man. You know, it's not sex unless I'm satisfied. And we become selfish in that part of our relationship. You know, the Song of Solomon, Proverbs 5, he said, in Proverbs chapter 5, the writer, Solomon, also said this, enjoy the girl you married when you were young. Enjoy. Man, I hear some people still, now it's not as much as you used to hear it, but I hear some people still saying in the church that sex is for procreation only. In other words, God gave sex so we could have babies. That's crazy. That's not why God, it's one of the things that comes out of the gift God gave us in healthy sex, but he gave us sex for pleasure. And the Bible's very clear about that. And again, in Proverbs, he said, enjoy the girl you married when you were young. Always let her breasts satisfy you. Always be intoxicated with her love. Now, some people read that verse and go, I can't believe that's in the Bible. I remember several years ago, we had a guy who was not a church-going fella, not a Christian, really kind of on the other end of the spectrum, and he had become engaged, wanted to be married, and to try to make this story quick, they called me and said, look, he would like you to do their wedding, and he wants to have a little church ceremony, but, just real small, intimate, and would you do it, and can they do it in the church? And I said, I'll do it under one condition. We can have at least three premarital counseling sessions. And they said, we'll get back to you. They called me back and said, look, he really wants you to do the wedding, so he agreed to do that, but he doesn't want you to be using the Bible. He doesn't want you to be beating him up with the Bible. I said, tell you what, I won't even bring a Bible to the first session, and we'll see if he don't want to continue after that, that's fine. Well, we go in the first session, we sit down, we start talking about marriage, and I kind of started at this end of the spectrum. Number one, I knew they were already doing this, so, it wasn't like they were, had not had intimacy and sex and all that. So I started there, and I said, and I remember one of the scriptures I threw out was Proverbs. Proverbs, Solomon said, man, you ought to enjoy the girl that you get married to. You ought to let her breasts satisfy you all the time. And he said, whoa, stop. It says that where? I saw the book of Proverbs, chapter 5. But anyway, you didn't want to use the Bible, so let me go on. No, wait a minute. Does the Bible say anything else like that? Oh, man, yeah, look, let me tell you this one. I told him one or two more, and he said, man, you got a Bible? I want to see this in the Bible. So we went from not having a Bible to, he brought a Bible next time of his own, and we opened it up. The Bible talks a lot about this. 1 Corinthians 7, come on, this is one we need to really get. The marriage bed must be a place of mutuality. The husband seeking to satisfy his wife. It's amazing he started there. Because we all know practically it's the other way around. It's real easy for a man to get that. Look, I'm trying not to be too blunt and graphic, but we got to be real with this stuff. Y'all know it's right. I mean, men are microwaves. That's all I know to tell you. Hit the button, and it'll go beep, beep pretty quick. I mean, it just... And once it goes beep, beep, he's done. Come on, y'all know what I'm saying.
The most important thing, I think, to remember is ladies first. And that's always a good thing in your marriage. Because once the microwave's beeped, it's beeped. So ladies first is a good motto. And also, one thing I didn't say earlier, hey, hygiene and looking good and attractiveness for your spouse is not just for ladies. Guys, do your part too, please.
Yes.
Do your part. And so it's important, that we take care of each other.
He says the husband seeking to satisfy his wife. Then, he says, the wife seeking to satisfy her husband. Marriage is not a place to stand up for your rights. Marriage is a decision to serve the other, whether in bed or out. Isn't it amazing?
See,
the Apostle Paul says you need to serve her in bed.
Ladies first, right there in 1 Corinthians. Y'all didn't know that.
Some preachers will get thrown out of the church for saying that, but it's in the Bible. He said, look, you do. And look, again, we don't want to get too graphic, but I would just tell you, if you'll read Proverbs chapter 5, read Song of Solomon, I'm going to encourage you to read it in a much more easy-to-understand translation, maybe the Message Bible, the Living Bible, NIV, NLT, whatever. Pick a translation. Don't just do King James, because, man, sometimes you be reading King James and you think, man, I think he's going there, but I'm not sure he's going there. Complement it with something like the Message Bible or something, and you'll go, oh, he went there. That's where he was going. Because it gets very explicit. I've heard I remember one time we were in counseling with a pastor when we were very, very, very young, and he said, do you have any questions? Well, look,
He always has questions.
I have questions, and I want to ask it. I want to do this right. And so he said, do you have questions? I said, yeah. What about oral sex? That preacher almost fell out of his chair. He said, do what? I said, yeah, it's a question. What about it? That's not in the Bible. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask. Well, the more I read the Bible, I found out he needed to read his Bible. It's in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. What I'm trying to do is let you understand that he leaves very little, if anything, untouched. But you got to get in there and read it. Find out what it says. And what you'll find is God created sex within marriage for pleasure, for both to be satisfied and it to be. And I believe that it can be the kind of relationship where every time both husband and wife are satisfied. Now, the other passion killer before we wrap up, and I feel like we need to touch on this for a few minutes, is, and this one actually, Angel worded this for me, predictability in lovemaking. When it becomes so predictable that it's the same every time, in the same place, at the same time, the same way, it gets boring. One or both gets boring with it, gets bored with it.
Well, one thing I thought of today, you know that old saying, familiarity breeds contempt, but variety is the spice of life? That is so true. And ladies, a lot of this is going to kind of rely on you in the sense that we tend to be sometimes a little more uptight. Not always, but kick it up a notch. Do something fun. Go, buy a little something cute or plan a picnic or, make time to get away. We spend money on anything and everything, and I see so many couples saying, well, we don't have time to do an overnighter. Yes, you do. Just plan it out. There's plenty of people in this church that love you, family members that will help you make that happen. So, but don't be boring,
Before we get married, we're sneaky. We do all kind of sneaky, risky things together. We go parking in places that we think, oh, if the police pull up, oh my God, what are we going to do? And sometimes they do. And well, we had been married a long time, or a little while, quite a while, and I wanted to go parking, and Angel was like, we can't do that in public. What if the police pull up? I said, what if they do? Well, oh my Lord, I said, well, they could take me to jail for doing that in the car with my wife?
Oh, Lord.
She's like, honey, I'm like, well, we used to do it. You didn't worry about it before. We ran some risk, you know what I'm saying? But it's amazing how when we get married, we feel like, especially sometimes, us church people, I got to shut all that down. And I had a guy actually tell me one time there's only one way to have sex. It's even, it's given a scriptural name. The missionary is called the missionary for a reason. I'm thinking, dude, Christianity has fried your brain, man. You're messed up. Whoa, bro, hold on. Now, you getting God involved in something that, even the Lord's looking at you saying, hey, hush. You're starting to sound stupid. Be quiet. Predictability, I think, and that's why a lot of affairs happen, is because somebody's willing to run a risk that you used to run with the one that you agape love and that's your best friend, but now there's no risk involved. And I remember one time, I'm going to tell this story. Our girls were real young. My daughter's probably fixing to be mortified, but she'll live. She's on the front row. But they were really young. We were in from the mission field, and we were going to preach at a church in Lake Village, Arkansas. And so our pastor and his wife were in town here, living, of course, and they kept the girls. So we'll keep the girls today. Y'all go preach, and then come home in the afternoon. We'll have the girls. It'll be great. So we got up real early. We went to Lake Village, a couple-hour drive. We preached. great service. Went to lunch with the pastor. We're on the way home, and you know, we're in love. I mean, we're enjoying the time together. We're enjoying the time with no kids. Come on, any parents know what I'm talking about? It's like, oh man, it's quiet in the car, and
we can talk.
You know, we talk and you know, hold hands and tickle and play and drive. And if you've ever driven from here to Lake Village, there's a long road of nothing but fields on both sides of the road, and sometimes you don't see a car for a long. Anyway, long story short, somewhere between here and Lake Village, I saw this field and I took a right, and I went way back on the back of this field, and we spent some quality time together, and
we were in high cotton, if you know.
And, wow, that was awesome. But we spent a little more time than we thought we were going to. We had a lot of fun, and so we get on the road to come back, and she's like, "Oh, they're gonna kill us. Oh my Lord, honey, we're 2 hours late. Oh my Lord, yeah, it wasn't a 15-minute, this was a couple of hours." And she's like, "They're gonna kill us. They're gonna kill us." I said, "Well, I mean, okay, we'll just apologize. I mean, So we get there, and the girls are there, and we walk in, and we're trying to be all, like, man, sorry we're late, and
lunch went long.
So they said, well, that took a while. We expected y'all back a couple hours ago, but that's fine. And I felt bad, and so I said, well, I'll be honest with you. And my pastor said, what? I said, we stopped. And our pastor's wife said, without a hesitation, because they had preached at this church before too many times, she said, let me guess, this field coming out of this little town, y'all stopped and spent some time together. I was like, yeah. How did you know? She said, we stopped there too. Ian, come on up for me. Let me read you this. I feel like I need to wrap it up right there. Some of you looking at me like, all right, this is enough. Let's go to lunch. Song of Solomon, chapter 7. I'm going to give scripture to justify what I just told you we did, okay? Look. Song of Solomon 7. Come, dear lover, let's tramp through the countryside. Let's sleep at some wayside inn. Let's go get a
Airbnb.
Yeah, a little cheap motel somewhere out in the nowhere, middle of nowhere. Not dirty motel, cheap motel. Let's sleep at some wayside inn, and let's get up early and listen to the birds sing. Let's look for wildflowers in bloom, blackberry bushes. Let's go take a hike out through the woods and look for fruit trees with cascading flowers, and there I will give myself to you, my love to your love. Look, in other words, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's get out of the bedroom at 8 p.m. and, the way we do every single day or every single time, not every single day, and most likely. But let's mix it up. Let's just go live an adventure. Would you bow your heads with me this morning? What I'm saying is don't be so predictable. Mix it up. Mix up the time of day or night or location, approach. Have fun with it. Be creative with it.
And that's important, but also I think mutual respect is something we need to remember too. If your partner's conscience condemns them, talk about it and find out why. And never force or control each other, but enjoy each other and have fun together.
Yes. God, we come before you today and we just pray. Lord, these are real topics, and I think if we need to talk about them anywhere, we need to talk about them in church. God, we need to be real and realize that just because we're Christians, Lord, it doesn't mean we ignore important topics for our life. I believe, God, that a Christian husband and wife should have more passion than anybody else in this world. And I pray in Jesus' name for our couples in this church, God. I pray for the single folks in this church that they would not settle for just eros love or even just phileo. But I pray, God, that as they wait on you for that that forever lover, that forever mate, that it would be someone that Lord, they do have the phileo love and the storge love, But Lord, they have the agape love. It's an unconditional love. A love that'll weather the storm, that'll forgive the offenses, that'll give a second chance or third if needed, God. The kind of love that you have for us. And I believe if we have all those, Lord, the Eros love will just come natural. I pray that over couples in our church right now. Just pray, Lord, for your blessing. We thank you for it, God, today. We thank you for it.